Don't Tell Mom, I'm in Chechnya is the title of a Russian anti-war song detailing the harrowing experience of war and bleak nostalgia the persona feels for home. The song is characterized by a lethargic mood and clear disdain for the events of the Chechen wars, particularly told from the perspective of a Russian tanker. It is a song that is caught on not just because of the catchy accompanying instrumental, but the gravity and depth in its lyrics. If she asks you what I wrote, just lie. Just don't tell Mom I'm in Chechnya. The message is clear. So heartrending are the struggles of active personnel that it would be better for the sister to inform their mother of a lie rather than to tell her the truth that her son is fighting in Chechnya. With such a depressing melodic progression in their lyrics, in addition to the sheer pain in how the vocalist carries the song, it is no wonder that the song is caught on. And quite a few covers and iterations have been made, some even in English. My personal favorite is the version entitled Don't Tell Mom I'm in Chechnya by your T72 gets hit. A pseudo remix of the song with additional sounds of warfare and an extra coating of pain because the original just isn't heartbreaking enough. This song being an anti-war lament, it is particularly interesting to observe how predictably it has been adapted into the Russo-Ukrainian war perspective. In one version, Outer Terrans, it continues to carry the anti-war narrative, framing the Russian soldier as a struggling soul, worried that the sister not tell their parent that he is fighting in Ukraine.
My dear, how are you? The winter is probably already gone for the year, and the stars are falling on Kiev, and I'm in pain. But please just don't tell Mom I'm in Ukraine.
It is a decidedly Russian perspective, focusing on the experience of the frontline trooper, as could be expected, seeing as Outer Terrans' concern was likely simply to convert a beautiful song into the English language, so things like me could sing along. However, by virtue of its occupying a space where it seems to lament the experience of war from the Russian soldier, it is no surprise why it is easy for not just the biased extremist, but the ordinary individual who may not even be pro-Russian to consider it an indirect endorsement of the Russian cause. It laments the pain of the Russian soldiers, after all, seeks to evoke sympathy for them, after all, and unless the person carries a higher than standard level of emotional maturity, people tend to reserve sympathy for those whom they agree with. It is easy to imagine how Outer Terrans' reimagining may be contorted into a pro-propaganda piece of media. Not necessarily because of the fault of anyone, but the nature of its very construction is an adaptation of a Russian song. This video concerns itself with another piece of media, one which comes with inbuilt mechanisms to avoid an interpretation that can make it propaganda for either side. Greetings. The intent of this video is to cover yet another iteration of Don't Tell Mom I'm in Chechnya, one with the quality that enables it to resist functioning as propaganda for either Russia or Ukraine, and why that is important. This piece of media is a video that serves the function I like to think of as anti-propaganda. The link to the video is in the description, and I strongly recommend you watch that first before continuing with this one. This is a video for the pro-Russian viewer as much as it is for the pro-Ukrainian, because its concerns are not necessarily with the conflict and questions of who is right or wrong, but with human tendency. This video begins with a bleak shot of a crow perched on the shoulder of a dead combatant. As camera pans out, more of the desolate and painful environment is revealed. Debris, like destroyed infrastructure, is everywhere. Whoever you might believe the glory of this belongs to, this is not pretty. It is an ugly sight, and it is the reality of war. The camera pans further out and rotates in tune with the singing to focus on and emphasize a convoy of Ukrainian soldiers making their way through the scape. The manner in which it moves adds a layer of lethargy and weariness to the atmosphere of the images on screen. Critically, the camera captures the moment the leading combat vehicle steps on a mine and erupts. The camera pans uninterrupted by the nasty surprise to capture a soldier lying down, most likely dead, and the survivors' reactions. The whole sequence is accentuated by this dynamic camera motion to bring the essence of dry and glamorous mood. The camera does not focus on any particular aspect or event because to do so would award it a sense of importance. But nothing here is particularly special or noteworthy. It is just the mundanity of war, hence the camera's almost freely treatment of what is occurring. It evokes the sense of inevitability in how indifferent to the soldiers it is. It is merely interested in capturing the essence of war. I trust you are familiar with this idea, futility. The entire sequence occurs in a single cut. The camera zooms in to the light atop one of the IOVs as the turret rotates to face us and beyond us to the enemy behind. The accompanying artwork is minimalistic and almost unrelentingly crude. It is a type of artwork, whether so intended or not, that insists you focus more on the subject matter it covers than you do on itself. Look at these figures. Are they not almost rudimentary and basic in a way which makes you think more about the ideas they represent than you do them? The texture work or realistic rendering. You are to focus on what this art is saying, and its crude style is an additional prod in that direction. In the same way, the color palette is minimalistic, its shadows dark and drab. This runs counter to what we would normally anticipate in propaganda, which, in attempting to depict a heroic side, tends to rely on bold, startling colors and strong shades which instill certainty and conviction in its message. Not this though. Observe even the rigid, blocky emotion of the models. Concerning the song itself, the lyrics of this reimagining are interesting for a number of reasons. Here we have a Russian anti-war song which is supposed to be bemoaning the loss of life on the Russian side, twisted in order to present the same melancholy and horror as in the original version, but from the perspective of the Ukrainians. At least that is what is suggested by the part where we observe the destruction of Ukrainian IFV, timed with the lyrics that speaks that the boy driver is being taken home in a metal coffin. If you are paying attention, you will already be wondering why the lyric, "Don't tell mom I'm in Ukraine," if it is from the perspective of the Ukrainian fighters. These are Ukrainian soldiers. Isn't it to be expected that they will be in Ukraine? There must be something else going on under the surface, something perhaps a bit more darker and more uncomfortable. Before that, it is worth noting how I think the tone of this singer is more raw and mellowed down. Impossible though that may seem. The singer is slower, heavier. Unfortunately, analysis of the singing beyond this is out of my range as I cannot speak Russian. Overally, though, this version of the song is a conversion which retains the same atmosphere of the original but uses it to lament the plight of the Ukrainian forces. Except that is exactly what it is not. Recall I categorized this as anti-propaganda. The rug is pulled from under us with the revelations in the final stanzas. The song speaks of the plight of the Russian speakers in Ukraine. This is framed against the backdrop of a flaming Russian business. Inevitable from the subtext is that it is Ukrainians who did the sabotage for no other reason but that the owner of the business is Russian. Just don't speak Russian too loud. The song is a bitter lament for the oppression of the ordinary Russians in Ukraine as much as it is for the death of the combatants on the front lines. These are who the lyric, "Don't tell mom I'm in Ukraine," are for. Those punished simply for the reason that they are Russian or speak the language. This series of article headlines serves as the context as it flashes by. Now, I do not know the creator or the intention which they had in creating this, but this is quite the accomplishment. You will likely be thinking that it is not enough for a piece of media to be ambiguously unaligned to warrant the term anti-propaganda, and that is correct. And I will seek to substantiate why I think this piece is not simply ambiguously unaligned, but goes beyond that. Propaganda serves the function to sway a narrative, to bolster or support one side and provide certainty and justification. In the case of this video, the lyrics are in Russian and they do recount the ordeal of the Russian speakers in Ukraine, but it is by no means a blank check endorsement of the Russian perspective. The soldiers under attack and the boy whose death is sung about are Ukrainian. Though through the lens of Russian propaganda, the Ukrainian death, especially the death of a combatant, would not be portrayed in the way it is shown here. At the same time, it is not an endorsement of the pro-Ukrainian propaganda either, which would have no business in emphasizing the harm being done to ordinary Russian-speaking civilians in their country. Don't tell mom I'm in Ukraine. The verse that is for the civilians, after all. Here is a video that actively undermines a reading of itself that is too biased in either direction. A lot of mental gymnastics would have to be necessary for the extremist individual from either side to accept this video as something they agree with completely. This is purely beautiful. Why I have decided it fits into the slot of anti-propaganda, a work with inbuilt mechanisms to defend its own meaning and preemptively strike out, to borrow a term from the proponents of cancel culture, any appropriation of itself. It is unfortunate, but as people, our first instinct is to other those who do not occupy the same perspectives as us, when even the most petty issues arise. So in the case of a full-scale war, this is only exacerbated. The war, particularly in online discourse, has become a petty playground fight, an entire catastrophe boiled down to petty finger-pointing and tally-keeping, under videos of men being killed, people exclaiming, "Haha, the orcs are being exterminated." I suppose such is inevitable. This event has been a very sensitive issue. But war is not a game. And by now the historical precedent has shown us in abundance, whoever is victor, there are never any winners. So I think it is important that more anti-propaganda media is made. You can select a side and have your justifications, but when you block out all dissenting views and arguments behind the wall of emotions, you only radicalize yourself.